down to -5.
Oh my gosh.
Do you play him?
No, I'm pretty light on him. I think I have like 8%, so there's that.
Yeah, I remember watching some of the shows and you ranting about like he can't keep doing all the stuff he's been doing. It's like impossible statistically.
Did you see the tee shot he hit on 9 yesterday?
No.
He hit it 120 yards right. Like, it was outrageous. But Augusta, you can hit your driver everywhere. That's part of it.
Dude, apparently he holed out one where it was about to go in the drink or something.
Yes. Yep. It was like a 3-shot swing. That was in the creek if it doesn't hit the pin. He has God on his side. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the NBA, NBA, MLB. Well, you are in the right place. MLB live before lock here. It is 1 o'clock out here on the West Coast, 4 o'clock out on the East Coast. I'm Eric Lindquist. I'm alongside two pretty big OGs of the DFS industry. Alex Baker, you know him as the #1 player in the daily fantasy world, and Gundacker, the new addition to the team. He's coming in hot. He's coming in with the hot takes. He's ready to go. Alex, let's start with you. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. I saw Bryson finish real strong. I wasn't super heavy on him this week, but at least I had one lineup where I had like all guys in the top 10 and Bryson at like 60th. But anyway, this is a baseball show.
No, we can make this a master show. I'm more than happy with that. We did our first show earlier this week. We covered all the ins and outs of the Masters. I think it's going pretty well right now. Tony Finau made a push today, which was really exciting to see. I think we were both pretty high on him because if the Masters if it had happened in February, he would have been the highest owned player, I think, in the field. And we're seeing Spieth play well, continuing that strong form. So looking to be a heck of a weekend. Gundacker, do you dabble in the PGA streets at all?
No. That's like it's my New Year's resolution every year that I never get to, man. Everyone that I know in DFS, they're so passionate about it, and obviously there's tons of money I'm missing out on, but I don't. But I want to eventually if I know where to start, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, we got the "you're" in there for AD super chat right off the bat. We appreciate you. It's good to be here. As we get started, as you start rolling in, hit that like button. Definitely hit that subscribe button. That goes a long way for us over here on YouTube. As we get this MLB product going, we're a week into this thing. Hit the subscribe button as well, so you know when this and all the other content at Awesemo is going live. Let's just kind of start there. We're a week into this season. Alex, obviously going to default to you here. How's the first week of MLB gone? What have you kind of seen so far? Are there any trends you're picking up on? We're seeing Trevor Bauer put stuff on his hands and throwing them onto baseballs and pitching great. Just curious if you're seeing anything from pitchers, hitters. What's really sticking out to you so far?
So, the big talk in the preseason was that they de-juiced the ball, but I went through the batting numbers and I haven't really been able to find much because I think ISO decreased about 10 points or something like that. But this is normally a period of the season where there's lower run production in general because of colder temperatures. So that doesn't seem to have made a huge impact thus far. And the other thing I was looking for, were strikeouts. Strikeouts are actually up a little bit this year. Now, I was kind of thinking maybe if the ball is de-juiced, people would be swinging less hard, but that does not seem to be the case at all.
Interesting. So, Gundacker, how about you? Do you second some of those takes? And also, what have you noticed yourself?
Yeah, for the most part, sample size is key for really making a decision on whether or not the ball has been dead balled or not. Although sometimes when you're sweating at the end of the night and you get some of those warning track flyouts, you can't help but wonder if that was one of those weighted balls. But no, I posted earlier, there's some players that looking like they're finally living up to some of their early day hypes. Byron Buxton comes to mind right away.
My guy.
Yeah, if he could stay healthy, I mean, he could be a platinum glove defender, and he's been hot with the bat. And obviously, he was one of the fastest players in baseball. He might steal some bags. I saw his MVP futures were pretty tasty. So, like, I'm really debating on whether or not striking that. But for the most part, like, I'm not overreacting to small sample size, maybe some anomalaic performances just yet, both above and below average. I'm just happy baseball's here.
Agreed. And man, I don't get along with the Yankees cap, but we can get along with the Byron Buxton take. That's for sure. So as long as you're behind him there, we can get along. Let's start diving into this slate. We've got 6 games on tap for tonight. Kind of these smaller slates on the Fridays. They'll start picking up momentum here. Looking forward to having some bigger ones to break down. But 6 gamers, I saw that you'd tweeted out before the show, Alex, that you're excited about some of the game theory elements. Like, what really sticks out to you on a 6-game slate that you're doing as opposed to some of these bigger 10, 12 gamers that we generally have on Fridays?
The big difference is the chalk is just a lot more chalky because, like, with fewer options, the ownership of each one is going to be higher. We saw that yesterday on the slate where Trevor Story was like 50% owned. And once you get ownership going up that high in baseball, it becomes a situation where, like, anybody in baseball, it doesn't matter like how good a spot it is more likely to fail than to succeed, at least on the bat side. So I think we might see some of that today because we got this game in with Toronto. I guess they're playing in Florida. With 11 over under, by far the highest on the slate. So that's kind of like Coors-esque.
Yeah, I definitely see that as well. Gundacker, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, at Baby Coors, it seemed like we saw that in Buffalo last year, and now in their spring training stadium with some friendly Florida temps, and the dimensions of the stadium are already pretty hitter friendly. And the batter's eye was really nice as well. Yesterday we saw 12 runs, 18 hits, and 3 bombs. Again, we just talked about overreacting to small sample size. I do think like the science is behind this one playing pretty hitter friendly for both sides. It's not really blow you away pitching as well. So I'm kind of with there. We kind of assume the field probably starts with this game, and then it's up to us to maybe figure out if there's some viable pivots position by position.
Yeah, we'll get into some of the stacks here coming up. A lot of hitters later on too. But let's start with pitching. I know that Gundacker, we started there last week. Let's go back there again today. So if you go over to the top pitchers tool, which Alex has developed, helps you on a site like a 2-pitcher site like on Draftkings and Yahoo, be able to plug in a couple of those guys, see where you're going to be getting leverage. I know Alex has talked a lot in the past about not really worrying about how chalky a pitcher is and being able to differentiate with your stacks. I'm curious, we've got Joe Musgrove sitting on the top end. And by the way, all of those MLB ownership projections are free today on the site. So head over there, check those out, give that a run. But we'll go over to Gundacker here as Alex hit eject here. He's over this already. Let's start Gundacker. Where are you kind of looking on this top end? Joe Musgrove, he seems to be the ace that everybody's kind of relying on. Are you seconding that?
Yeah, I'm there on Musgrove. It looks like the roof in Texas is going to be closed, so it is helpful. Otherwise, it could be a pretty hot. McCullers was another one that's sticking out to me. This Oakland Athletics offense has been pretty stagnant so far. So I'm right there on McCullers. Zach Wheeler's another guy that's kind of poking at me. He did really well last week against Atlanta. And then I'm probably willing to go back to some Zach Plesac as well. Those were my 4 guys on the short list thus far. Heaney has metrics where you could see some strikeouts in a solid game, but we just talked about how dangerous this park is going to play. So I don't feel like I'm going to be pressured to end up there. But the bottom half of the pitcher list bottoms out pretty quickly and pretty ugly. So I'm going to keep it to probably the first 4 names there, maybe the first 5. And that's kind of where I'm at there.
Yeah, I saw Musgrove also. We saw a little spike up in his velocity that first time out from last year, like a mile per hour or so on his fastball. Looked really good in that first start. No walks. That really sticks out as well. Fantastic against an Arizona team that isn't so good offensively, I don't think, for a long-term profile. I don't think Texas will either. So I do like that spot as well. I know you're not getting a crazy amount of leverage with them, but Joe Musgrove, is that kind of a guy that you're going to be going to as well, Alex? And then Plesac, McCullers, who are you kind of leaning on in this top end?
Yeah, Musgrove. He had a really, really impressive year last year, 32% K rate, only over 32 innings, but that's enough to know that he really took a leap forward from before. I remember like a couple of years ago, he was kind of like that value pitcher we always went to, and now he's got like the big strikeout stuff. So he's going to be in play pretty much any slate he's on. The matchup versus Texas isn't going to hurt because they're definitely one of the weaker lineups in the league, and they strike out a lot. So I'm seeing a lot of reasons to go to Musgrove here.
Yeah, and we're going to get lineups. I think the Texas lineup just came out, and I was curious how many lefties were going to be in there. You're going to have Tejada, who's going to be batting from the left side, Gallo, Lau, Guzman, and Tavares. So you're going to have 6 lefties, 6 guys hitting from the left side of the plate. He actually has, he kind of limits power to the left side a lot better than he does even to the right side of the plate from what I saw. I'm just curious if that lineup sticks out to you in any way, shape, or form, making it even like a better spot. I wanted to see 6 lefties, I think, in that lineup. He loses a little bit of that K stuff. It goes down to around 31%, but up to like 38% against righties. But man, he limits so much power to lefties. It's really hard not to love Musgrove today.
Yeah, to be honest, like I don't look at the platoon splits for pitchers that much because there's a lot of noise there. Because, like, obviously, if they're going up against left-handed batters, those are usually going to be actual like guys on that are good at batting. Where like the right-handed pitchers and the catchers are usually right-handed, so like some of the position players that don't hit as well usually are from that side. So I think there are a lot of lefties, but that's not really something I'm a huge believer in being a factor here.
Okay, that's good to know. Do you kind of second that as well, Gundacker?
I mean, yeah, and then you said it goes down to 31%. Like that's still doggone elite.
Fantastic.
So
Yeah.
I'll take them both sides.
No, I'm trying to poke holes in the guy, with his a K rate that would still be like the highest on the slate in that situation, but such is life. We'll just say he's a decent enough play. Looking at your pitcher at the top pitchers tool as well, kind of looking in this mid range, you've got Charlie Morton going up against Philly. We know that they've got some solid power in that lineup. So I'm curious kind of where you're looking at there. Not too much negative leverage compared to some of the other guys above him over on DraftKings. Clicking over to FanDuel, it seems like it's pretty evenly distributed. So you've got like Plesac, Musgrove, McCullers, Molly. Is there kind of a priority that you're taking on FanDuel, Alex, as opposed to DraftKings? Like, is there a pitcher that really sticks out to you that you might want to prioritize because you're getting better leverage or they're just in a better spot?
Yeah, I think FanDuel is interesting because they do value going deeper in the games a little bit more there. So some of the guys that might pop at DraftKings because they just get a ton of Ks aren't going to be quite as good on FanDuel. And we're seeing that a little bit tonight where it's pretty much anyone's game for who's going to be the highest scoring pitcher. So you got some really good strikeout pitchers like Morton, Male, Heaney, that just like they don't go quite as deep in games, and that kind of evens out a little bit with a guy like Plesac, who pretty good strikeout pitcher too, but he goes a lot deeper into the game. So I think it's going to be really interesting on FanDuel who to go to.
What do you think about that, Gundacker? Is there kind of a difference you're seeing between the sites on a guy you want to prioritize?
I mean, just to touch on the thought process of pitching on FanDuel versus DraftKings. Yeah, that like last night, Jose Barrios was 1 out away from that quality start, right? Mm-hmm. Those are points that are very valuable if you're in the top 10 of a tournament. Obviously Lance Lynn just blew everyone by, but on a normal slate where you have a bunch of probably mediocre and a couple of good pitchers, that extra 4 points for the quality start, that will help out quite a bit. I tend to really narrow down the guys I think can get me 6 innings on FanDuel and kind of rate those guys a little bit higher. And then we've talked about, this still just being the second start for most of these pitchers. They're not completely stretched out, but I would love to be looking at pitchers that got to 90 pitches last start and then feel like I can get to 100 today to eat into that 6th inning, get me that quality start. Because the win is so variable, but the quality start is something that probably rewards skill a little bit more than the win does.
Yeah, agreed. I definitely see that too. I'm trying to figure out then as well for a couple of these other guys in this mid to bottom range. I feel like salary is just an interesting part of a 6 game slate on this one too. Like we've seen some soft pricing to start off the season. You've been tending, or I guess I've seen from Alex just even in lineup study, leaving a lot of salary on the table, kind of differentiating with the stack, not being too worried about it. I'm finding it more difficult to do that today because I don't really see a lot of value in that mid to lower end. Is there anybody that sticks out where you might be taking some shots on them, Alex? Julio Teheran is just brutal. I'm just curious if there's anybody else that kind of interests you in that bottom end, because we don't have to really worry too much about spending up for like a core stack today.
Yeah, I think I'm never that worried to go down to the cheap guys because in baseball there's just so much variance in like the number of outs and a guy can get there like pretty much regardless. Whether they get hits versus them or whether they get the guys out, however it is. So any pitcher really does have the upside if they are stretched out. So the only thing is today, like the good pitchers aren't that pricey. You got some really great options at with Mlb at 7,500, Heaney at 7,300. So it might not be all that necessary to go down to some of the cheaper guys.
Yeah, Molly looked fantastic his first time out. I heard that Terry McBee was talking about some of the spin rate that was kind of up for him too on the earlier show today. Just profiles really, really nicely in this spot as well. 7,500, nice tag over there. We've seen Arizona I think long-term is going to be a team that we're going to be picking on quite a bit. How about yourself, Gundacker? Anybody else that you're kind of looking at as well?
If I'm value hunting, it's not never, but almost never at the pitcher position. I like to get the highest floor ceiling ratio possible from my player pool, and usually the pitcher's the priority there. And you could almost always find a 2K or a couple $100 above min price guy in a understandable spot to kind of chip in a chair as a bat. So I'd rather find value as a bat than a pitcher.
I'm here for all the poker terminology all day. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Guys, make sure that you check out the Awesemo Podcast Network. If you're ever missing a show over on YouTube, just head over wherever podcasts are available, iTunes, Spotify, all the different spots. We have every sport. We've got UFC coming up on the weekends. We've got Masters stuff that was just hit up. And then going into the rest of the PGA stuff, if you took advantage of the Dustin promo during the course of this week, check out all of our stuff. And if you leave us a 5-star review over there and leave your Twitter handle or email address, you'll be eligible to win a free week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. We'll have one winner that will be awarded every Friday, and reviews will be eligible to win for up to 1 year. So good luck with that, and give us that like and subscribe so you can keep up with all of our shows. Also today, we have on the free content side of things, it is the last day of the starting 9 promo, but we do have MLB ownership percentage for free. If you want to get those goods for the next month, for the next 9 days, check out the starting 9 promo. That's STARTING and the number 9. Plug that in. It gives you access to everything we have. The top pitchers tool, which we alluded to, top stacks tool, which we're going to get to, the ownership projections, which are free today, all of the amazing things that Alex has put together himself, the number 1 player in the world. Check out all of those goods. But that offer is going to go away today. So this is your last chance to be jumping in on it. Fire it up and stop guessing, start winning. So join Awesemo Plus MLB today. Let's jump on over to some bats. Let's actually do some stacks here, because I do want to talk a little bit about the top stack tool. So if we're looking at the top end here, the thing that just jumps off the page for me and has all day, we alluded to the the hitter's park that we have down in Florida, where Toronto's been playing their home games at. The Angels right now, a 17.2% top stack percentage, getting some nice leverage there too. I was expecting them to be a little bit more popular than you are. Alex, what are you kind of planning to do with some of these top end stacks?
Yeah, that is a little bit surprising. I would have just assumed that game would be far and away the most popular, because it looks like the pricing isn't too crazy on it either, but it looks like the Angels, for whatever reason, people aren't really getting to them as much as I would expect. And Toronto, since they're the home team and also not projected to do quite as well, I think that they might be a lower priority, but still a good option. It looks like the ownership's pretty spread out here, so I think you can kind of pick your favorite spot and roll with it. And to me, I think the Angels are certainly in contention for that, being a great ballpark. And then you got a matchup versus a pitcher that is pretty unproven.
How about yourself, Gundacker? Who are you rolling with today?
So, I mean, Angels are screaming at you. I would imagine a lot of people kind of look at this Indians game and see that I think the Indians have one of the highest implied totals, if not the highest implied total. Going against a contact pitcher in Tehran, it's going to be the second time in, a week that they see him. A little familiarity on an already, average at best pitcher. And their lineup is pretty solid. Nice little lefty, righty, right through maybe 1 through 5 is looking pretty nice for me. So I would imagine some people see that. And I got wind models showing wind blowing out to center field at 13 miles an hour. So as if you needed any help, hitting bombs off of Julio, you get a little extra push there to compensate for the dead ball. Eh?
Yeah, well, 70 degrees too in Cleveland on April 9th. That's a definite win for Cleveland, I think. Everybody wants to move to Cleveland. So nice there this time of year, all the time, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm kind of there with you as well. Seeing that wind blowing out, I do like Cleveland, but getting a little bit over-owned, it looks like at the moment, might have to be tempering expectations just because of that. Looking at some of these other mid-range stacks, like we've got Houston sitting there. I always like targeting Houston. I'm happy to get on top of them whenever they're going to be lower owned, and right around 8% at the moment. That seems like a good place to be going. Any of these other bottom stacks that you're kind of looking at as well, Alex?
So I think you can get some really low owned ones that have a decent shot. So on today's slate, there's a lot of teams in that 4 to 4.5 range for expected runs. So I'd look at maybe Arizona, Oakland, and Philly as contrarian options that you might go to. Arizona does look like they're pretty favorably priced. They got good ballpark going up against Tyler Mahle, really great strikeout pitcher, but I think his fantasy stuff might be a little bit better than his actual stuff because his xFIP is 4. So their lineup is pretty weak today, at least we're projecting it to be, but there is potential there.
How about you, Gundacker? Anybody on the bottom end?
Well, so maybe not bottom end on run total, but the San Diego Padres, I know they're without Fernando Tatis, but they're going to pick up the designated hitter spot, right? So it's going to beef up a little bit as the road team already getting, the extra baked in. The Rangers bullpen so far has been the 3rd worst bullpen in terms of runs surrendered. I know they closed the roof, but Kohei Arihara, he's not a gas thrower. He was throwing some soft tossing baseballs over the plate. So I still think that the Padres, even without Tatis, are talented enough that they could produce some runs, especially against what's probably a below average pitching offering from start to finish from the Rangers.
I remember playing him. This is just like taking me back because I do remember him for the Japanese league. They had KBO that started off for the during the pandemic, and then it became Japanese, and I felt like there was a little bit of an edge over there, and I dabbled in the streets, and yeah, he just didn't have much K stuff there. Had like around a 3.5 ERA, a 1.2 whip, like just below a 1.2 whip, kind of numbers that went up from his 2019 numbers over there. I spent a lot of time looking into him, which is kind of a weird thing to be spending your morning doing, but such is the DFS life. Definitely somebody that I think we saw pitch pretty well, had a good solid 4 innings until he got hit up for 3 runs, got through 5, but basically no K stuff. So that makes it intriguing. Fastball that tops off at 92 miles per hour. Definitely somebody that I think a guy like Eric Hosmer makes sense as a one-off. Let's actually talk a little bit about like how to put together a contrarian stack on a 6-game slate. Alex, you talked yesterday, I believe, or earlier this week for sure, about how you don't ever really want to be skipping the best hitters from a stack because it can be something that is just difficult to capture. Like if the team's going to go off, their best hitters are generally going to be the ones who help you get there. Is there any merit that you would have to be fading some of these guys like Mike Trout in a lineup, Eric Hosmer, a lefty going up against a righty in that lineup as well? Is there something that you're thinking about in terms of how you're building your stacks that just is different on a shorter slate?
Yeah, I think it's not a horrible strategy to leave off some of the better hitters, but as I was saying the other day, it's not a preferred strategy for me. I think there's better ways to approach it. So like Trout, he is the highest owned guy on the Angels, but it's not even by a ton. So it does look like everyone on the team is getting pretty decent ownership, but you could mix it up a little bit by going with Fletcher in the leadoff spot. He's a guy that really doesn't have a lot of fantasy game because he doesn't steal bases and he doesn't have power. But when we're talking stacks, that's not a huge thing because he just needs to get on base a few times and get knocked in. So he'll probably be one of the lower owned Angels that maybe you can get a little differentiation with.
Gundacker, same question for you.
It's the thought of just being contrarian with a trendy stack. Is that
yeah? So it's a little bit more just nuanced where like we have 6 games and you're trying to find a way to get different. And like if there's like a specific stack type that you're kind of looking like maybe skipping certain guys out of some of the lineups that we have out. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult to be able to look at an exact lineup right now and be able to pick and choose certain guys. But specifically, we have the Angels lineup out, and you obviously have Ohtani, Trout, Rendon, and Walsh, who have just been hitting for power for however long here now. And Walsh is off to a hot start. But is there kind of a different way that you would go about building some of your stacks to be different in a tournament?
Not really. I'm just gonna trust the stack in the matchup. You know, to double up on what Alex said. Like maybe I pluck away at a exposure to a guy with no power or no speed, right? Like Pujols isn't in this lineup, but if he was in the lineup, I wouldn't feel bad about downgrading my exposure to him. But for the most part, like the stack is a stack, and I don't try to get too creative with the exposure to the individual stack. But like if I had to, if it was a short slate and I had to use a little bit of leverage against myself or against the stack that I'm on, yeah, I guess taking away the power and the speed would probably be the approach I go to there.
Yeah, I like that as well. Looking around, so Arizona, we talked a little bit about how you're on both sides of that, where you can play Mlb, but you can also jump on the other side and stack up Arizona. I think that seems to be a viable thing to do on a 6-game slate, on pretty much any slate, especially somebody that has great strikeout stuff who could get it going, but could also get lit up at the same time. Let's look into a couple of like one-offs from a couple of these teams, find a couple home run calls for the people before we get into questions in about the last 20, 25 minutes as lineups are coming out. Is there anybody, any batters specifically that you're looking at, either high owned, low owned, that you're looking at on the board today, Alex, that really sticks out to you?
That's always a fun one to find that one off that would really make your lineup click. So usually what I'm looking for in those guys is just a price point which makes the stack pairing like possible that wouldn't otherwise be. So usually it's just like really low price guys that are batting pretty high in the order. So let me take a look at what we got here today. One guy that might fit the bill, Nomar Mazara, is batting 4th for the Tigers. And he's only 2K on Draftkings. So that is just like an insane price for a cleanup hitter. I'm sure he'll be popular, but one, you can get that kind of value that really makes your lineup a lot different. So I might pair him with 2 expensive stacks as just a one-off there.
How about for you, Gundacker?
I mean, for overall value, I think there is a couple of great opportunities today. I think Jesse Winker's price on FanDuel is probably too low if we're just plucking away one-offs. I also feel like Manny Machado's price discrepancy from FanDuel to DraftKings is pretty egregious. He's down to 35. Machado's not even the most expensive Padre in that spot. So if he ends up being, a first inning at bat, I think I like that. As far as like probably too cheap to just make any stack work, man, it is. I mean, pricing doesn't seem like it's going to be that big. Ahmed Rosario on FanDuel is 2,200, $200 above min. There's a lot of big price differences between FanDuel and DraftKings that I'm seeing from game to game. So I might have some exposure levels that look pretty wonky when it comes to these value one-offs. Also, if you believe in Akil Badu from the Tigers, he's off to a ridiculous start so far, and he's 2,500 on FanDuel as well. And I don't think anyone's stacking Tigers. I know I'm certainly not running toward them, but maybe that's if you find a solid value play that can give you sub 10% ownership, just chipping a chair, just that one guy. Yeah, maybe a couple names like that. But overall, I don't know that salary is going to necessarily be overly constraining today. But there is some solid options on both sides, and it's some of these are a little bit more household names. Like Machado on FanDuel is 35. I think that's going to be pretty hard for me to control my opto when I'm spitting out my lineups.
Hard to process how somebody goes about. First pitch of your entire MLB career gone in the stands. First pitch of the first at bat of the season. Pretty fantastic to see out of him. Really kind of enjoyed that. Let's take a look over at Odd Shopper here today as well. So if you guys are looking to try to find the best lines available, that's really the key to sports betting in general, is shopping lines. So it can vary greatly depending on which book you're looking at. So that's why we have Awesemo's Odd Shopper, sponsor of the show today, to find the best lines available or player props you were betting on that help to give you an edge to beat the house. Head over to Odd Shopper. We have for MLB, we have all the game lines between money line, total, run lines. We have player props. So we have to hit home runs, strikeout by pitcher, total hits. So many things that kind of stick out on the board over at Odd Shopper if you plug in some of the stuff over there. So take a look over there. We're trying to isolate some homers. Like one of the big, great joys of my life is finding one-offs that are able to go yard. I love the Nomar Mazara call, $2,000 over on DraftKings. It's really difficult to beat that, even against Plesac, who, he's your most expensive pitcher on the slate, but a 4-hole hitter at 2K. That's pretty tough to beat. I'm waiting for this to refresh over here on Odd Shopper, but is there anybody that really sticks out to you today that you're just like, I'm going to plant my flag in him as a one-off, or somebody that you would possibly be betting to hit a home run? If we organize it here, let me see the top ends of yeses. We have on the top range, the most likely guys to hit home runs today. A couple of these guys are in games that are already going, but we got Joey Gallo at plus 300. Your guy, Manny Machado, plus 280. Mike Trout, plus 280. I feel like those are all three pretty good calls. Anybody that kind of sticks out on the top end for you?
So in my bomb detector.
That's what it was. I couldn't remember the name of it. The bomb detector.
Yeah, in the bomb detector, all the San Diego guys are at the top for me, but I believe that's going to be a product of short sample size, so I'm not going to overreact to that. Jesse Winker, I think, is the guy with the most built-in metrics that the bomb detector is spitting out. I like that spot for him leading off on the road here in Arizona. Chase Field often doesn't have the roof open because Arizona gets so unbelievably hot. But it looks like the roof's going to be open here. So I kind of like Jesse Winker to get a little bit different. And he's pretty cheap on both sides. And I can already tell my model's going to love him. And he's already popping in the bomb detector. He's probably going to trend up even in my non-red stacks as one of my highest owned players. And my bomb detector is on him as well. So I'd probably look at him if we want a name that maybe isn't as household common. I don't know what I just said.
It's okay. We got Alex back. Alex, how's it going? You ready to call a bomb for the people off of Odd Shopper? You ready to just walk in, hit a walk-off home run, and walk off again?
Dude, this is so funny, man. I'm supposed to have these blinds installed today, so I'm talking to this guy on the phone about that. But I'm totally ready to call my shot. So I gotta I'm a big Detroit guy, so maybe I'll call one of my Tigers. I think Jonathan Scope, he's probably their best power hitter right now. He's not a great power hitter, but he's what we got. So he's got that matchup versus Plesac, a pretty good pitcher, but maybe it's went out today.
All right. I can get behind that. That's not so bad. Yeah, normally that was me as a Minnesota Twins fan just lamenting my life. But now it's switched. We got the Bomba Squad. We got Nelson Cruz. And all of a sudden, we're just, setting records left and right. And oh, my good Lord. Back to Byron Buxton. Love you so much. Please keep going. I'm looking around, too. I'm kind of intrigued by a couple of these Arizona Diamondbacks as well, like Eduardo Escobar, Christian Walker, both sitting at like the plus 390 number. I think in DFS, like I'm not ever looking to like hedge anything, but Molly could totally be a viable pitcher on this slate. I could see him being somebody that I would play, and I could also see Escobar or Walker or any of those guys in the middle of that Arizona lineup hitting a homer as well. Not that I'm going to be targeting them against my pitcher per se in DFS, but definitely kind of like some of those guys in the middle there as well. We just got a San Diego Padres lineup. We got lineups starting to roll in a little bit here to take a look at, which is exciting. That's kind of what we're here to do. Trent Grisham, welcome to the party, my guy. Very excited to see him at the top. He's I think this is his first time making an appearance this year. Trent Grisham, has he played in the game yet this year?
I don't think he started, but he may have grabbed an at-bat to it. Don't quote me on that.
I don't see an at-bat for him, so you're a liar.
All right.
And now
he just came up the IL.
Well,
I'm gonna go sit in the corner.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Normally that's me. Here's the thing: we've done one show together, and it went pretty smooth. We have some different things going on here. You just have to make fun of me. That's literally what I'm here to do. I'm here to be the host. I'm here to just basically be a punching bag. I know my place, so it's nice to be able to give it back a little bit here too. But Trent Grisham at the top of that order. Good to have him back. Jurickson Profar, Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer. So we've got three lefties starting right off the bat. Three of the first four guys up top there. Will Myers, Cronenworth, Pham, Hae-Sung Kim. Love that name. Love the KBO. And Victor Caratini batting in the 9-hole. That seems like a decent enough lineup. I mean, you take Tatis out, obviously that takes away a big bat, but getting Trent Grisham back is kind of a big deal, I would think. Just somebody that we have seen I believe did he have 4 home runs in a game last year? I know he had a 3 home run game last year in San Diego and definitely has that upside to go yard in some spots, but was with Milwaukee, now here in San Diego, had a decent enough year last year, and happy to see him at the top of the order there again. Anything interest or stick out to you? I do like Eric Hosmer big time in that 4-hole as well.
Yes.
Anyone?
The Padres, I think their lineup today, we were accustomed to them being like a really sick batting team, but the lineup they have today is a little bit disappointing, I would say. They have only about 5% more extra bases than your average team. That's because their hitters 6 through 9 really aren't the greatest hitters. So they're a little bit better at getting on base at about 10% above average, but I think the lineup today, it's not the most impressive. So that may be a knock against them. That may have me leaning a little bit towards the Angels even some more.
Yeah, I can see that. Let's see. We have a couple of other lineups here to go through. I'm not really sure if there's anything that I saw that really was that surprising out of the Phillies or Atlanta. Obviously, a tough Atlanta matchup for Zach Wheeler. I think he would be a lot more popular on the slate. I guess I'll ask you guys that as well, because he was somebody that I was surprised to see kind of he was garnering some ownership earlier, kind of tempered off a little bit here. Top percentage, he's the third. What was he? He is actually further down the list here now, still garnering a little bit of ownership. It's pretty spread out with those pitchers. Is there any lineup that really kind of sticks out to you that maybe makes a pitcher profile a little bit better? Because I don't think we're going to go to Arihara against San Diego by any means, but anybody else that really sticks out? We have, I believe, just about every single lineup in except for Arizona and Toronto.
Yeah, I think there are a few pitchers that have plus matchups here. So the guys I'm looking at with as far as matchups, sorry, I gave us on the slate. Okay, the Tigers versus Please Sack, they strike out more than average, and we all know the Tigers are rebuilding pretty heavily right now. So that's a plus for Please Sack. Uh, we have Wheeler versus Atlanta. Now they have a lot of power, but they also strike out a lot more than average. So that's one that it's going to be highly volatile, but maybe worth taking a risk on. And then the other one that I'm looking at is Musgrove versus Texas. They just have a really miserable lineup today where they're weaker in every category, including strikeouts. So that's probably the best matchup on the slate, and it's a pitcher that has great K stuff.
What do you think about that, Gundacker?
Yeah, no, all that is on point. There's a couple of matches or pitchers in spots that they've faced a week ago, which could go either way. You could spin it as the batter kind of has a fresh memory on how pitchers approach them. We talked about Zach Wheeler. He had a big game against the Braves. I think we know the Braves are a little bit more talented to kind of lean against them at a high level, but the team that I don't think is scaring me talent-wise is the Athletics. So McCullers another one of those pitchers that's going to run back his last start, and the Athletics so far have been pretty porous offensively. I know a lot of those games were in Oakland, but so far it hasn't been much different in Houston. And their lineup outside of Elvis Andrus over the course of the last 2 years, I have this entire lineup striking out about 23% or greater. A lot of these guys closer to 26 plus. So I think there's a great strikeout opportunity for Lance McCullers today. With McCullers, you're kind of worried about him throwing strikes consistently. Obviously, he leans on that curveball quite a bit, and that curveball doesn't always land in the zone. But I think just if we're trying to upgrade quality of opponent and quality of matchup, I think there's plenty of strikeout potential in this A's lineup today.
Agreed. I like that as well. Guys, start loading up some questions. If you guys get them into the premium Slack, if you guys can upload them onto YouTube here, that would be fantastic. We can start to have the guys answer your questions. We'll get to a little bit of everything. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, but definitely the subscribe button. I also want to see the like button kind of push NBA numbers. I know we can't probably get there, but I think we can. Big fan of that little like button down there on the bottom. Let's go to what are the chalk stacks today? Well, luckily, letting you know that we do have free ownership for MLB today. So you can head over to Awesemo. You can look at Draftkings, Fanduel, Yahoo, if that tickles your fancy as well. Be able to take a look at everything. They have the Yahoo Cup round 3, I believe, today over on Yahoo. So that's a free tournament to jump in. Free 99 is the best 99, I believe. And I'm a big fan of getting over there and taking advantage of that. But head over and get those ownership projections. Let's see. What pitcher will you have the most of on FD? That's our news god, El Negro Loco, firing that up. So what pitcher will you have the most of?
Me personally, I'll probably be the highest on Musgrove. Musgrove and McCullers is kind of a coin toss for me. I feel like McCullers maybe get some of that home cooking. His team is a decent sizable favorite at 173. It's probably going to be between Musgrove and McCullers. It sounds like the field's going to be more on Musgrove, and I think that's perfectly fine. For me, it's a little bit more coin flippy than not. But those are probably the two I'm narrowing in on, and I'm sure at the end of the day it's going to be one of those two. But either way, I'll have copious amounts of both.
Then we've got a question. Thoughts on Tehran today? I'll give that to Alex here. We got Alex back.
Sorry,
the blind central. Yeah.
So Tehran, he just has been having a rough couple seasons. Last year, he didn't pitch too many games, only 10 games, but he only had a 13% strikeout rate. This year in his first start, he only had 3 strikeouts, which wasn't exactly encouraging that he's been able to up his game there. So to answer Giles' question, I think I would avoid tear on.
That seems like a good idea. That seems like the prudent play. I like that. Let's see. What's our top stack for GPP today? For me, it's definitely going to be the Angels. I think you're getting some nice leverage with them still. I am shocked, like kind of completely shocked that they're not higher owned than what they are. Anybody else? Anybody else have a choice? Like top stack? That's such an interesting question because it's not like there's Coors on this slate where I can just say, well, there's the team with the highest implied total. I'm pretty sure that there's a viability because it's an ownership game and it's a game where I think you're really trying to get different with your stack in a way. And I think my pitching is going to be very condensed today. So I doubt I'm going to be going crazy with some of the chalk, and I'll try to find some different ways to stack up the Angels, but that's just kind of a different approach to say like, oh, what's your one top stack? Play more than one lineup. How about that? That's kind of there's my tip for the day. Trent Grisham, it'll be his first game. Trent Grisham, 3 home run game back in the day. I was correct. I got one thing right. Is there a catcher on Fanduel? I always love this question for Fanduel. Is there a catcher on Fanduel that you would target today, Gundacker?
Looking at some of the top, really for catchers, if I'm going to play them on FanDuel, either they have to be like a good pedigree hitter or get an undeniable opportunity in their lineup spot. Like yesterday, we talked about Wilson Contreras leading off for the Cubs. Like I just thought the opportunity was great for a catcher that usually gets thrown away on FanDuel. I don't see a name sticking out to me as somebody that should make a priority. Seems like maybe Tucker Barnhart. I probably land into some red stacks, so maybe Tucker Barnhart would have to make the crack for me. But I don't see any priority plays at catcher. Nothing's sticking out to me here.
Fab 5, U of M. I believe that's the same guy who won $15K last night in the NBA. Congrats, man. I'm with you on the Angels. Thank you. There we go. That makes me feel nice. Thank you also to Chris for bringing up that ownership on the catchers there. Looks like everybody's under 1%. Is there anybody that you would be going to out of that catcher pool, Alex?
Oh, I like the concept of maybe going to a catcher that is pretty underutilized on FanDuel, but today I agree with Gundacker. Tucker Barnhart looks solid if you wanted to do that, but this isn't a strategy I would necessarily force. It would probably be just because I like the catcher. But one other guy that I guess you could look at is Alejandro Kirk. He has decent power, so at least that makes up for the fact that he's batting 8th.
Okay, I like that. I can get behind that. Also, Joey House asks, and I think this is great. It is early in the MLB season. If you're just getting your feet wet, it is good to figure out kind of what you're looking for sure. But what stats do you zero in on for hitters, Alex?
So I think one stat that I find really useful that is actually kind of aligned by the baseball community is batting average. Like, although getting a single isn't a lot different for your team than getting a walk, walks do kind of kill you in fantasy, where only 2 points, that's not going to get you anywhere. Without at least a single, like you got that potential to get RBIs. So I look at batting average. And then the other stat I think is second most important is ISO, where this is the extra base potential basically in a stat. So those be the 2 main ones I'm looking at.
Nice. How about for you?
I think if you had to just pick one stat and no other stat for a slate, maybe OPS if it has a solid sample size, on base plus slugging. So on base usually indicates you're just going to get points because you are reaching base, and then slugging is going to kind of throw in that power with you. So like if you were in a pinch, OPS will probably be a starting point for me.
Keep getting those questions in. We still got 10 minutes left here. We've got the number 1 daily fantasy player in the entire world who's just taking your MLB questions, absolutely crushes the MLB streets. I would say, I mean, out of everything, he's good at every single sport, but I've seen him on the top of every MLB leaderboard since I can fricking remember this game. So make sure that you get all the questions in that you want right now. We've got a shorter slate today, so plenty of time to go through any strategy, anything else that you might want to be asking. Do you think Casey Mize will have a breakout season this year? Going back to the Detroit Tigers, Alex.
Oh man, that is a good question. I have to admit, I haven't been that impressed with Casey Mize thus far. He last year had 20% K rate, so I do look at the minor league numbers a little bit for the breakout potential, and his strikeout rate in double A was 23%. So to translate to what that would shake out to in major leagues, let's say you subtract maybe like 4 about. So I think he's around a 20% strikeout guy, which is consistent with his results so far. And that doesn't sound like a ton to get excited about.
Yeah, it's no it's no Jacob deGrom. That's for sure. I'm thinking also, let's go to is there any weather concerns, Gundacker, that you see? Is there actually any weather? We talked about Cleveland, how the wind's blowing out. It looks like it's 70 degrees there, which I think is a little bit warmer than you would expect for April 9th in Cleveland. But is there any weather that kind of sticks out for you today?
No, the wind obviously helping fly balls against Julio Teheran. As far as rain or anything like that, no. Yesterday we got our first taste of that, and Lance Lynn was able to wait until after the rain. Jose Barrios had a little 10-15 minute delay in the middle of his game. They did let him come back out, but as far as today, it doesn't look like we're dealing with rain. It's just a lot of solid, like, good day temperatures, a lot of 70 degrees and a couple domes. The wind being the only real weather related factor in Cleveland, and it's a plus for hitters there.
How about for you, Alex? Anything you see?
I'm seeing, that line in Cleveland is a lot higher than I would expect. So I have to agree with Gundacker that the wind is likely to be a factor there. So that's a good one. The other really standout one is Toronto. I mean, their stadium normally is a pretty good batter's park, but this new one that they're playing temporarily, it really takes the cake, it looks like. So obviously anytime you can get a game in Florida outside in April, that's going to beat the Midwest.
Yeah, like that a lot. Let's see. I'll bite. I've got a lot of Toronto in my lineups. Is it a good bet to have both Toronto and Los Angeles Angels stacks, or should I just take one or the other? I don't know. Is he coming from hockey DFS, NHL DFS, where, sometimes you want to be able to stack up your team and then play the goalie, because if they score a bunch of goals, you're probably getting the win and solidifying it that way. Curious, Alex, do you ever kind of look at it that way, where aren't two teams basically uncorrelated in terms of what their run output's going to be?
Yeah. So the only correlation would be like batter versus pitcher, really. So that is the prime way to get leverage in MLB, is if there's a really high owned pitcher, then you can go to the stack. It tends to work best when it's a guy that has really good strikeouts but isn't a great pitcher. So the guys that would fit that category today are Joe Musgrove, whose xFIP was 4 last year, and Tyler Malley, who also was at 4. I think the league average is like 4.4. So although these guys have sick strikeout upside, they also make a lot of mistakes. So the lineups going against them aren't the strongest either. So I don't know if this is the best day to execute the strategy, but that's my general feeling about it.
Nice. Gundacker, I'm going to kind of switch it up here for a second. We've got a lot of people asking for contrarian stacks, chalk stacks. Is there any stack that's going a little bit underowned, underrepresented that you're kind of noticing? Have you started some of your builds, and is there somebody you're keying in on? We talked about some of these top teams being the Angels, San Diego, Cleveland. Anybody a little bit further down that you're really kind of going overweight to?
Overweight on an Contrarian stack? Is that
yes? Like is there a contrarian stack that sticks out to you? For me, I'm looking at Alex's top stack percentage, and I see 28% on Arizona being a top value. Seems like you can get them pretty cheap over on DraftKings today. That's going to be somewhere that I'm going to be very, very interested in getting to. I think that kind of sticks out. I guess refreshing it, Arizona's down to 5.9 there. So that must have been Yahoo that I was on. Going to FanDuel, I think somebody that stuck out as well to him. Top values. I mean, Cleveland is cheaper over there, but they're already getting so high, like they're getting a bunch of ownership there. So I'm still going to be siding with the Angels again, I think, over there as well. I really hope the Angels put up 15 today. That's kind of what I'm learning. Anybody on the bottom end that you're looking at, Gundacker?
So, I mean, we're talking about this wind in Cleveland, and I think the knee-jerk reaction for everyone is to look at the Indians against Tehran. Plesac hasn't been a world shaker in spring so far, and that last start wasn't the dominant start that people were looking for. He gave up a hit per inning, 2 walks, only 4 strikeouts, had more fly balls than ground balls. If he leaves the ball up, Detroit's not a fun stack to play, but they're going to get the benefit of the weather as well. And this isn't the same Cleveland, pitching staff, even into the bullpen that maybe we once knew. So I know Alex has mentioned that Jonathan Scope. We've talked about Nomar Mazara. The Tigers don't feel like they're ever going to be a trendy stack, but they're right there to take advantage of, a rare weather boost in Cleveland as well.
Yeah, I like that. Alex, question for you. Is NBA Top Shot going to come back? Are we riding a high with NBA Top Shot? Can we get this thing to get on the up and up?
So I think I'm cautiously optimistic. Like, I think the concept of collectibles that are videos is probably more appealing than cards because, like, for example, you look up the best LeBron rookie card. There's like 50 of them. So it's like, at least on Top Shot, like exactly how many of each moment there are. And it's a lot easier to find the ones you like. So I think there's something to it. The one thing I'm not sure about is like our MLB, NFL, NHL are going to get in the mix. And then all the money is going to be spread around among more sports. And people are going to want to get their money off Top Shot. That I don't really know how the timeline is going to work.
And they also stop having highlights that aren't actually highlights, that are just layups. Can we just have some actual plays that matter in the grand scheme of a game? It's not that hard. We can't have like LaMelo Ball traveling and then dishing off a pass. That just seems wrong at this point in time. Gundacker, have you dabbled in the NFT streets?
Yeah, I'm in for $15 on Top Shot lifetime, and I've had a over $1,000 withdrawal hit a couple weeks ago, and now I'm sitting on. I got the Zion All-Star card. When I first got it, it was $2,000, and I was like, it's Zion's first All-Star game. It can only go up. It's like for 500 right now. So I'm just holding strong. I got a Kira Lewis quad stamp. Or Jordan Nwora, I'm sitting on some cards. So
Jordan Nwora.
Hey, when badges are badges, I don't know.
That's true.
But if it ended today, I'm out. I'm not even out. I made my money. But if it spikes back up, I feel like I'm sitting on some cards that make sense long term. So I am a member of it. I don't quite understand it, but I'm here for it. And I've already been on the profitable side.
Oh man, that makes me so happy. I knew we had some commonality here, Gundacker. We found it. It's not in our preference of baseball team, but it's definitely in NFTs. So that's great. Right now we have the deeper dive and the live before lock. The deeper dive just went live. So if you guys want to head over that direction, I wouldn't fault you for it. I'm going to be getting in the NBA streets as well. Can't wait to start digging into this slate. We got Giannis out again. That'll be fun to break down and look into. Looking forward to all of the goodies. Look at their lovely faces. Chris bringing that up for them. We got Lofty. We got Scherer. We've got the all-star team in the house, giving you all the goods for the NBA today. Any final thoughts, guys, for the MLB streets today? If you want to do another Top Shot plug, I'm happy for it.
Yeah, I think today it's going to be a lot of fun. It's pretty much anyone's game as far as which pitcher is going to go off today, because there's a lot of great pitchers and great matchups. with the stacks, there's fewer choices. So I think today's going to be all about the ownership, trying to find that one really good option that might be going a little bit under the radar. So that's going to be how I tackle this slate.
Gundacker?
Yeah, kind of the same. Up until now, I've been able to just lean in on a couple of pitchers, like ace-style pitchers, and then, my stacks were pre-flop obvious. Tonight, I feel like I'm going to do a lot more hedging than usual, meaning I'm going to have some pitchers, but I'm also going to have stacks of teams against the pitchers and in my 150, and hope the cream rises to the top and I end up on top. But definitely going to be one of the more creative non-cores offerings so far. So I'm kind of excited to see, at the end of the night, what actually is at the top.
Yeah, let's go Halos. T McB there in the chat, he's onto the right stuff here. Hit that like button on your way out. Make sure you hit subscribe too. That goes a long way for us. It allows us to keep throwing out this lovely free content. Alex, it was a blast being back on with you again today. Gundacker, great to have you in the house as well. I love getting all the perspective, all the goodies. I'm Eric. Enjoyed this. Best of luck tonight, gamers.